Everyone, and welcome to an interview conducted by Very Alley Gaming. Today I have with us Forrest Dowling. Do you want to introduce yourself as to who you are?
Yeah, hi. Forrest Dowling. I'm the creative director and president of the Molasses Flood. And our most recent game is Drake Hollow.
So I have to ask, the Molasses Flood, is there like a story behind the name? Like, how did you come about with that name for your studio?
Yeah, it's based on the Great Molasses Flood of 1919 that happened in Boston in the North End. And we're located in Boston.
I don't think I've heard of
Basically,
this Molasses
yeah,
Flood thing before.
the super short version is a tank filled with millions of gallons of molasses
Oh
burst in the
no.
North End, flooded that part of the city, and did a lot of damage. It was like a
Oh
40-mile-an-hour wave of molasses
gosh.
moving through the
Was it at
city.
least delicious?
I I don't know. People say that you can still on a warm summer day smell molasses in the North End.
That's
I don't think I
crazy.
have not experienced this phenomenon myself, but that's the legend.
Because I always thought the name worked so well with like the ether. I always like when I picture the molasses flood, I always think of like the ether in Drake Hollow, which is obviously
Oh, sure.
the scary gas. I'm like, oh, that kind of works together.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I have to say, I absolutely love Drake Hollow. So I was first introduced to it when I went to FanFest in 2019. They had like a demo for it. And I played
Mhm.
it and I was like, I cannot wait for this game to be like released. And I know like a lot of fans were also really excited by it. So I was wondering, were you sort of expecting the positive response you had, or was you like surprised by it? Or
No, I mean, I think that we were hoping it would be a positive response. I guess
yeah.
I just never know what to expect, so I try not to expect anything one way or another.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been really happy with the response that people have had for it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been popular among the fans. Question I've got to ask as well: why did you decide to go with Xbox as a console exclusive rather than being available for the Switch and PS, like PlayStation? Was there like a thought process behind that, or just Xbox the first ones to approach you? Or
Yeah, well, we talked with everybody a bit, and we've had like a good history with Microsoft. Our last game, The Flame, the Flood, was a Xbox exclusive as well for the first year or so. Um, Really, we're just a small team, though. We could only support so many platforms at once, and we needed to choose which one we were going to do. And with Game Pass on Xbox, that made it sort of an easy choice because they wanted us as part of that program.
yeah,
And Sony and Nintendo didn't really have similar options. So we're certainly not going to do a Switch or a PS4 version,
yeah,
but we don't really have a timeline for that yet. And I don't know. I mean, I won't say that we will, but it's not that we can't. We
yeah.
just haven't taken
Oh,
on those
that makes
platforms
sense.
yet.
Yeah, no, I love Game Pass. There's so many games available. When I saw that Drake Hollow was coming, so I was like, yes, it's time to
Yeah.
shine.
Yeah, and also, I think you've been following along. We've been doing a lot of updates to the game,
Yeah, that's what
and
I've
it's
been
sort of
really
like,
impressed by. Like, you just like pretty much every month we're releasing something new, something different, and it's really cool to see how on it you are with the patches and the updates.
yeah. So from our point of view, we could be spending our time doing that or spending our time supporting new platforms. But we only have so much time to spend. And for the
Yeah.
moment, I think what we wanted to do is, based on early reviews, there was a lot of positive things said, but also there was a number of issues that people pointed out, and there was a number of things that we wanted to address before we start
Mm.
looking at bringing it to more platforms and whatnot. So that's what we've been working on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just like, honestly, it's so impressive, like seeing the game evolving, like with each update and everything. Like, I love the game so much. And one of the coolest things I think about the game is how it like sort of crosses over like multiple genres. Like, it's action adventure, it's like crafting, it's like so many different things. And so I was wondering, like, did you always have like this genre crossing in mind when you developed the game, or did it sort of come the more you sort of worked out the lore around the world? Did the game develop like that, or were you always thinking, right, I want to make this with all these features in it?
I think it just kind of developed organically. So the game started out where we wanted to make another survival game, sort of,
Yeah.
but wanted to change it up a bit, and make it so it's not about the player surviving, but about them trying to help something else survive. And then everything else kind of came out of that. So that's where all these different kind of genre pieces got pulled in. Was just trying to make that core idea work.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Like, I love how you can like build up your base, you can build on the go, you can like explore, collect new materials, collect new items. Like, there's so much going on. Like, how long did it take you to just like put everything together and get it all to like work simultaneously? Like, so many different things going on at once. Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, the game was in production for a little over 3 years altogether. But yeah, it took a while, and there were certainly some points. I mean, probably around the time that you first played it when we first announced it, between then and launch, we did a pretty major overhaul of a lot of systems.
Because I know we got the launch was like delayed by like a month or so. So I suppose it was like last minute sort of checks.
Yeah, well, I mean, even so, we had announced in November of 2019, and then we're planning on shipping very close to that date originally, but we just kept adding time and reworking things because it's definitely a game. Well, yeah, there's a discovery process.
Yeah.
And when you're mixing up a lot of genres or a lot of different ideas, you can sometimes learn that your assumptions early on are incorrect. And there's a lot of stuff that we kind of needed to rework and change to make it actually be fun.
How many of you are actually on the team?
We're a team of 12 right now.
12. Cool. But yeah, no, one thing I love, the drakes, they are so cute, but I do have a question regarding when you find them in the wild. Is there a finite number of drakes, or is it random rolled each attribute when you get, like, so you random roll for name, like stone type and ability, or are there a finite number of drakes and you're just going to get one of them, or is each attribute like rolled when you get them?
Yeah, so the names are randomized, but the attributes are not. So the attributes link to the color and the crystal, but yeah, the name is fully random.
I reckon I've got like 3 difflers in my camp at one point. So,
yeah, I mean, it's I'll say that the name generation is not extremely sophisticated. It just kind of is pulling random pieces from a couple lists and puts them together.
Yeah, no, I love it. And like, I love how you've got like sort of slightly different designs, and you age the drakes up and everything. And it's always like bittersweet when you eventually make them into like the elder statues and stuff. It's like, oh
yeah,
my baby.
I love seeing when people want to know what happens when they retire one.
That's what happened with
me. A lot of people come into the Discord in a panic.
Off. I'm like, where are you going? Where are you going?
Yeah.
And I followed
what
him.
Did I do?
And I'm like, what have I done? Oh dear. So I love all the customization options in the game, like all like the hoodies and everything. I'm wondering, are you ever planning to like add like seasonal items, or like ugly Christmas sweaters, or like pumpkin hats for Halloween? Would that be ever something you considered? Or
well, we did this Christmas. We did do some ugly sweaters and
did you? I missed it this Christmas. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Oh no.
Are you doing it again next Christmas?
Maybe we'll see. I'm not going to make any promises about that. It depends what we're doing at the time. I missed it. Yeah, you could get like a snowman head. A gingerbread man head.
Oh, now I really want them. I need them. Please do it again this Christmas.
Sorry. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that. And I think it's fun for people to find and collect that stuff.
One of the things I noticed you've done a lot in the updates is you've been updating sort of combat in it. And I was wondering, how tricky was it to strike a balance where it's like still challenging in multiplayer mode without being too difficult in single player mode? Like, did it take a while to sort of get that balance right with the enemies and like their health and their attacks and everything?
Yeah, I think we didn't do too much with the enemy health or the damage they do, just because people tend to, focus more on one enemy or another. What we do is just spawn more things when you've got more players, like particularly in raids. There's just like the numbers go up the more players you have active at any given time. So you just need more help in camp when a raid happens to deal with it.
That makes sense. So I've got to ask, what projects are in the work for the Molasses Flood next? Are there any like cool new games on the horizon, or is it right now just focusing on updates for Drake Hollow?
No, there's cool new stuff on the horizon. We're kind of split the team at this point between ongoing support for Drake Hollow and the next game. We actually have had a couple folks working on the next game for almost 2 years.
Any clues on the next game, like genre or anything like that?
I'll say it treads some familiar ground for us. It's, I think it's something that people are hoping we'll do. So I'll just
go on, give us a clue. Give us a little clue.
That's as much of a clue as I'll give for that at the moment.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, we're still figuring out like even what form it takes, how long it's going to be, and when we announce. So.
Fair enough. So were there any games you drew inspiration from for Drake Hollow? Because like I said, it's crossed like a lot of genres. Were there any you had like in mind that you sort of wanted a similar feel to when you were creating it, or did you want it to be something like entirely new, or what kind of things were going on there for you?
Yeah, I mean, geez, looked at all sorts of stuff. I mean, Pokemon to some degree of just like taking care of creatures.
Yeah.
I was really interested in some of the like colony or village management sims, like Oxygen Not Included. which obviously is like a far more technical game than what we did. But I think there's some inspiration there. I looked at a lot of builder games too. Like I really
Yeah.
love Cities Skylines, which is obviously very, very different than
Very
what we
different.
do. But in some ways, like the way that like resources are abstracted
Yeah, no,
out,
I
I
can
think
hear you
very
there.
much matches something like a SimCity or a City Skylines, where you just have like things that your citizens need to be happy, and they
Yeah.
have kind of a global abstracted number.
I think you guys got it exactly right with like the base building and everything. Like I think the balancing there was spot on.
Well, thank
So
you.
no, I was like really impressed by the base building, because I love crafting in games. It's like one thing. If a game's got crafting, I've got to try it out. So like when I saw like how you developed it in the game, I was really impressed with
Awesome.
how you got it right there. Okay, and now this question for you personally. What games were like you really into growing up? Like what were the ones that made you want to become a game developer? Or was it like you saw a game and you're like, this is what I want to do with my life?
Yeah, I mean, I do have an easy answer for that one. It was both Deus Ex and Unreal Tournament.
Oh, okay.
And like I grew up in the 80s, and you know, I had Atari and Nintendo and stuff like that. And then around, you know, high school, I stopped playing games. Like I was just, you know, want to hang out with my friends and skateboard and be in bands and that kind of stuff.
Oh, you're a skateboarder.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I was cool once. And in college, I just started getting into digital art. I was going to art school and just had a decent computer at that point and started playing games again after what had been a number of year hiatus. And one of the first ones I played was Deus Ex, and it just it blew me away that it was a game that felt like it was trying to tell like a real story.
Yeah.
It felt like it allowed like a lot of player expression in terms of how you played and like how you could solve problems. So I played that, got really hyped, and then started building maps for Unreal Tournament because they had an available level editor, and it was an easy
Yeah.
place to get started. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
And then finally, I guess, like, what made it? Why did you decide to work on like an indie studio rather than joining one of the biggest studios? Like, what was your thing? Like, I definitely want to go with my own small company rather than being part of a bigger machine.
Well, I was part of a bigger machine.
Oh, okay.
So the studio formed when Irrational Games closed,
Okay.
and we had just finished working on BioShock Infinite, and the studio closed. And at that point, Boston, there wasn't much in terms of work to be had. There weren't really many studios that were hiring, and there was a lot of really talented developers who are now out of work in this town.
Right.
So the options were kind of, for me, it seemed like get a job somewhere else working in another AAA studio, or start our own thing. So I got together with a bunch of former developers from Irrational, people I knew that were looking for a gig, and we started the company. So it wasn't
cool.
like a lifelong dream to run an indie studio. I just really wanted to make games with my friends and not need to move every few years to do so. So
kind of happened.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened.
Oh. Any regrets, or are you so glad you went that route?
No, it's awesome. I mean, I love it. Like I miss the resources of working on a huge AAA project sometimes, where you just have like seemingly infinite money to spend. But at the same time, like, I mean, I wouldn't hate it if I went back to that someday. But at the same time, I've had a ton of fun, and running this studio has been a job that I've had longer than any other in my life, actually, at this point.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining me for the interview. Like, honestly, it's such an honor to talk to you because I love Drake Follow. It was one of my absolute favorite games of 2020. So yeah, it's been really great to sort of learn more about the process and more like your studio and everything. So yeah, just thank you ever so much. It was wonderful chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for chatting with me as well. I'm really glad you like it, and really appreciate the kind words.
Oh, well, have a wonderful day, Forrest.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.